Right now what I need to do is cut out the cavity for the end graft. And I'm starting with a saw to cut out both sides of that outline, and then I will remove the center portion with various tools. You'll see that I am not getting full strokes with this saw or the other one that I will switch to later. I don't have a jig to hold the body of the guitar steady. If you watch it as I'm sawing the guitar body, that is, you will see how much it moves. And so I can't get a full stroke with the saw because the guitar body is not supported enough so that it is solid. Here you see I'm switching to another saw, hoping that a crosscut saw will work better. But it's not the saw. It's the fact that the instrument body is not being held firmly. I was afraid to crank it down too much because either I could crack it, because the top and the back are both domed, they are not flat. And if you look at how I've got that in a vise, I can't put it fully in the vise because the vise hardware, I guess, that's used to make the vise open and close, the threaded rods, things like that, are in the bottom center of that vise, and you can't get but about halfway in. Not even halfway if you look at it. So if I crank down on that too much, two things will possibly and most likely happen. The first is that I'll crack the top or the back. Or if you notice, there's a piece of cardboard in the shape of the guitar taped to the front of that instrument. It's on there because the top is cedar and it's very soft, so I'm trying to use it as protection against unwanted marks, which would be more easily made on that soft wood. But also, if I crank that vise down too much, the corners of the vise are going to mar the wood. I need to eventually make a jig that will hold the body and hopefully attach to this bench in some way. I have a good friend of mine who is basically a mentor when it comes to guitar building, that sent me some pictures of a jig that he had built years ago. He's now really fancy and uses a suction vise, a vacuum vise, or a vacuum clamp, and that's a joke. If I had the money, I'd have a vacuum clamp too. See here now, I'm starting with a chisel, but once again, you see how that body is moving around, and now I have to readjust it constantly. Now, look at the position of my right hand. That hand is out of the way of the chisel, but you will see as I work on this that my hand probably gets in the way. Now you see me trying to use the router plane that I built, and it did a good job. But I want to go back to, look, when you're using sharp objects, chisel or anything else, keep your hands, your fingers, and the rest of your body out of the way of the edge, because if you slip, and you slip a lot chiseling, and you might not really realize it, and you have any part of your body in the way, you're going to wish you didn't. But now I'm just cleaning it out. I'm cleaning the bottom. I removed everything with the chisel, and now I'm cleaning the bottom out and bringing it down to a final depth with my handmade router plane. And now I'm adjusting the depth of that plane so that I can take a little bit deeper cut. The first instrument that I built like this, I just used the chisel, but the router plane is a lot more suited, or a lot more well suited rather, to this kind of work, and I'm glad that I built it. A little bit more adjustment. And it's just a matter of basically adjusting that until I get the bottom of the channel flat and even. And they're going to be high and low spots because I excavated with a chisel. So I would take off the high spots and tap that blade down a little bit to take off some of the more of the high spots that are left until I reach the level of the low spots. And in this case, I reach the wood of the heel block, or tail block rather. And now I'm trying to get like the very corners of that route or excavation or channel or whatever you want to call it, so that everything sits flat, chest fit the piece. I have 2 or 3 different pieces of rosewood, and I will basically fit using both of them until I find a proper fit. Normally you would just use one piece, have it sized where you want it, and cut the channel to fit, but I have the pieces and I just as well use them. It offers some advantages that way. Yeah, I am fitting this. Best I can. but I want it to be really tight. The problem is I don't want any kind of gap. So I have to kind of really be careful. And the problem is trying to find, I know that like the wedge action is probably what is supposed to secure this and clamp this and all of that jazz, but I'd say that's as close as I'm going to get to the quality fit. Maybe like that. So I need a alright. What I'll do, I'll glue this in and sort of center it like that along this channel. I'll take my Grommet and put a ledge there for the binding. You'll see what I mean. I'm going to press it down into the channel with my hand as much as I can, just to make sure that it's in there nice and level and tight. And we will be back when it's time to either trim that or when it's time to actually glue the binding on. I might not film cutting that small little spot, but I mean, I might be able to just do it with this here and here. I just don't want to mess up and make any kind of mistake, so more than likely I will use a grandma because I want it tight to this ledge here at the butt of the guitar. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later.